Guys, for those of you on the call that may have some questions for Chris, I'm going to ask you to table them to the end of the call. And I'm also going to ask, maybe just write them down, or you can even use the messaging thing and message me with any questions that you have if you don't want to unmute and ask yourself. With that being said, I'm going to invite Christopher P onto the call. And let me just tell you a little bit about Chris. So I've known him for, it's got to be about 4 years now. I know Chris started as a face-to-face final expense agent. He figured out a better way to do it, doing it over the phone remotely. And about a year ago, I reached out to him and said, hey, man, we're doing something pretty cool you might be interested in. And so now he's been with us for quite a while. It's got to be, it's got to be going on 7-8 months maybe. Anytime I reach out to Chris, I ask him if he can do something for me. I ask him for help. His answer is always absolutely. I love that. Always there to help another agent, always there to just do the right thing. With that being said, let's welcome Mr. Chris P to the call. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Doug. How are you?
I'm doing real good. Well, I woke up a little funky this morning, so we'll see. Started getting whatever the heck's going around last night, and it's in my head. In May, I know you wrote a little over, I believe, over 45K in APRE. So right off the bat, congratulations. Let me ask you this. Was that your best month so far with us?
That was, and April was 37. So those were the best 2 months so far out of the 9 that I've been with you.
Maybe just tell us a little bit about how you got into the insurance business, why final expense, and maybe how you ended up here working with us.
A few years ago, I was at the end of my career as a hearing specialist and figured there was something better. So I got into mortgage protection life insurance. So big terms, universal, stuff like that. And the company I was with had no leads in the state of Florida. Like I'd have to fly to another state, who knows? But they never had any leads for me. I was buying used leads, spending a ton of money and just not getting anywhere. And then the owner said, well, or my manager said, well, why don't you do final expense? It's completely wide open in the state of Florida with our company. Great. However, there was no one to train me, not a soul. So again, I'm all by myself, walking into some of the most dangerous places in my area, knocking on doors. Then I got a hold of Lincoln Heritage and I spent a few months with them and they actually trained me on how to do final expense. But the product is good as far as the concierge part, but their pricing is just outrageous. So that's how I met Doug. Is I needed an extra outlet for a client who didn't really fit the Lincoln Heritage. So we set up some Security National. I did a lot of business with them and Liberty, and then I'm driving 250 miles a day. There's got to be a better way. So I decided to go out on my own and try to do what you guys have done by creating ads on Facebook. I spent $6,000-7,000 trying to create a system, and then finally 3 months later I said I can't do this anymore, and I signed up with a local final expense who took care of everything, and it was good, but I felt like there is still something better. I could be making more money. I could have control over my carriers. I want to be in the driver's seat and not be told what to do. So Doug offered me a spot here. I can work from home. I can choose my carriers. And he's even done that for me. I was like, hey, what about this one? And 3 weeks later, he's like, yeah, we're all signed up. You can go with them, which is nice to have control over what I present to my clients. And that's why I love doing this, is because I'm in control. You can't tell me that, oh, I can only offer, Gerber. So that's why I like about, this platform is I have the freedom to choose and sell what I want to sell and what I think is best for my clients.
Okay. Very cool. Excellent. Excellent. Let's get into, because you already had field sales experience. When you first started selling over the phone, did it feel strange? Were you comfortable? What was it like for you?
It was not easy. I'm used to meeting people across the dining room table. You can look them in the eye and you can show them you're genuine about, helping them. You can't do that over the phone. So it's very difficult to transition from face to face to telephone, in my opinion.
With that being said, now I'd like to kind of draw a little bit of a picture of what your week and even your day looks like. So first off, we know that Monday, doing a calendar appointment system, Monday is always, the first day. It's always the slowest. So are you doing anything different on Monday that you are, Tuesday through Friday?
Yeah, I mean, Monday, is usually the slowest. My goal is to try to get a policy every Monday, start the week out right, and so I'll go through the appointments on Monday. I'll try to reach back to the people that I missed on Friday. And I do set a lot of callbacks for Monday. So that, from the previous week or Friday that, people that wanted to mull it over, eat, pray, sleep on it. I do a lot of callbacks on Monday. I pretty much take care of my paperwork as is throughout the week. And I'll check into, any policies that weren't approved. And that's typically what I do on Mondays.
Gotcha. Client service to all the way to
Yeah.
selling. So, okay, gotcha. Yeah. What kind of ad budget do you generally have each week? And what is your goal for the week, sales wise?
Right now my budget is 1,300. I run 3 states. My goal is about seven. If I can average 1,500 a week or 1,500 a day, that'll put me at the 7,000 mark by the end. And some weeks I hit it, some weeks I don't. I've been doing this a while, so I try not to beat myself up, if I don't hit a goal, because this is definitely a long game kind of a business. So I just try to stay positive and do what I can each and every week and stay consistent.
Okay, good. So that does answer the next question about daily goals. So I know that, when you first started doing this with the local agency that you were with before, there was a lot of dials involved. So, and I know you're used to making those dials. So I guess the question that I'm getting up to is, do you have like a daily goal for like how many dials you want to try to make each day, or maybe even presentations or conversations going into the day?
I personally don't, and I know it goes against everything that you've talked about. And most sales people talk about is, setting the goals. I have a problem if I set a goal and I don't hit a goal. I become a little bit frustrated, and then I get the urgency in my voice, which then leads, and I'm down this rabbit hole. So that's just the way I've worked, which
Gotcha.
isn't the best, but it is me. So I just try to take each day as I'm going to do the best that I can with what was given to me on my appointment book, what I can get out of each and every client. And I just try to focus on doing my best each day as opposed to goal setting, reaching those goals.
It works. I mean, you make, as far as phone time and dials, you're at the top, and that I think, well, that's also why you're also one of our top agents too. And it all makes sense when you do the math. Let me just ask you about your week so far. So let's say we had Monday, Tuesday was the 4th of July, and then yesterday, Wednesday. So what's your AP at this week? How was your Monday and your Wednesday so far?
So yeah, so far I'm at 4,500. Monday I did about 13, and then yesterday I did 32.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah, and
Nice.
then today it's slowed down. I saw the appointments because we didn't have 2 full days of marketing. So
Right.
my appointments were a little light today, but
Yep.
I did pick up Friday and Saturday till 2, hoping to offset some of the change in the week.
Correct. Right, because we didn't, normally we advertise on Tuesdays, but Tuesday was the 4th of July, so we knew we're not gonna waste money on that. That's not the day to advertise. So yeah, it makes sense that your numbers are where they're at. So actually, I am right now. I'm looking. I wrote down all the top amounts. Excuse me, the amount of dials that the top agents made this week, the most dials, everything, and you are actually at the top. You are yesterday, you did right at 90 phone calls. 7 of them, I think, were actually inbound. So you did 83 dials. So if the information I've got is right, which I think it is, so you did a lot of dials, and that's like that to me. That's just so. And here's the thing, guys. Just so yeah, 85, 90 dials for our platform is a lot of dials. On other people's platform, it's nothing. They're a lot of people that I speak with are used to making 200-300 dials a day. And so with us, with the calendar appointments, we know the pickup ratio is a lot better than from a regular lead. So excellent job, excellent work so far. Yeah, it's funny. You're right on top. You didn't work Tuesday, but you are right on target to hit your numbers. So that's pretty darn sweet. You do things a little different. You were already selling over the phone. So I've listened to your presentations. You don't do like our exact presentation. I feel like you use bits and pieces of it. You added it to what you're already using. So let's start with this. The prospect sets an appointment. You give them a call and they answer the phone. Exactly what do you say? How do you open it? And if you need your script, you want to pull up your script, that'd be cool too. Because I'm just that first introduction, that first 20 seconds. How do you start that conversation?
Yeah, so I actually have my script on my screen all day long. So it's always there. And I start out with, "Hey, Bob, this is Chris giving you a call about your appointment." And there was one gentleman that we had that came in and did a talk with us. He talked about, instead of, how are you doing? He would always ask, "How have you been?" That's more of a more open-ended question than, how you doing. So it's, "Hey, Bob, how you doing? This is Chris calling about your appointment. How have you been?" And, "Oh, things are great, things are bad. Well, let's see if we can make it better." um, so it looks here you had sent in a request to us for state approved life and burial coverage. Is that correct? I want to get to the point. "Oh, no, I thought this was Medicare. I thought this was health insurance. I thought that you were given grants." Anything that they have, they're going to do it right there, because I have 3 appointments for every spot. If they're like, "Oh, no, I thought this was Medicare." Okay, well, I'm sorry. How did what did you see? Try to figure out there, and then move on to somebody who's actually trying to buy life and burial insurance.
Okay, so that's what we were getting up to. So that is how you kind of weed out the tire kickers, or the people that, how you find the people that are the potential buyers. And so let me just say this, because I know we've got a couple agents on the call that haven't started yet, and or you may even be listening to this later as a recording. I feel like, with our system, we get these people when they fill out the lead form, they should know what this is about. But every now and then you're going to get someone who maybe it hasn't mixed up with something else they filled out, or is just flat out wanting to get rid of you. So the nice thing about our platform is we've got so many appointments, so many people to speak with, that you can afford to actually, instead of chasing them, instead of, fighting, going back and forth with them, you can actually afford to move on to a degree. And so I think Chris has got it down to where that's what he's doing. And that's what I really want to talk about. Is there anything else specific that you do to help you to weed out the tire kickers up front? Or if they get through the presentation, basically, do you wait until the close, to see what they say? Do you close them and then see what they say and then go from there?
I try to get a buying sign, at the beginning. Is this your first policy? Are you looking for additional coverage? Okay, you're looking for your first policy. Okay, well, what happened recently that has gotten you out looking around for coverage? Now, sometimes it bites me and, oh, I'm just looking. And like you said the other day, which I'm starting to use, I'm just looking for info. Well, did something happen, and just like gloss over that statement? But yeah, my mom died 6 months ago. Okay, so you just want to make sure your kids don't want to have to do what you had to do by taking care of your. So, who in your family is handling the arrangements? Have you ever had to go through the process of burying somebody? So these are all within the first 4 or 5 minutes. If they're not willing to give me, who's handling their final arrangements, I have somebody, but I'm not going to give you their name. They're not going to buy.
Right.
They're most likely going to just want your thing and move on. So I want to get some information from them as a buying sign, a signal,
Yeah.
that
That's
they
the need.
want.
What he's talking about, guys, is finding the need, talking about the need, bringing it up, basically. And now the cool thing is later, he's already got that need up front. Later, when they start with the nonsense, the excuses, he can remind them of that when he loops in back into the product presentation, to overcome any type of objection. So it's smart the way you're doing that. Yeah, I like that. Doing a lot of digging, and that's what that is. That's finding the need. That's getting them to address the need. He gets them to admit that there is a need, that they're speaking with him for a reason. That's huge. Very, very nice. Okay, so I got to think about it. You've been through the presentation. We know they're saying, I got to think about it, or I got to talk to the kids, or they're going to go from one to the next. Boom. They give you the first flat out objection. I've got to think about it. What are you doing at this point?
Absolutely. What is it that you have to think about? Is it the cost, the amount of coverage? What's your biggest concern? And it's usually the cost. Okay, fantastic. So it's out of your budget. If I can find something that is better suited for your budget, are you okay with that? Oh yeah, yeah. And just try to figure out what is their major hang up. And it's usually a cost thing. You're dealing with a lot of people, who really don't have a ton of money, or else they would already have this taken care of. So it's it's mainly about budget, or I got to think about it. Great, let's go ahead and see if we can even get you approved, because I might not even be able to get that done. So let's see if we can get you approved. No money is due today. We'll go through the application, get that policy mailed out to you, give you a chance to look it over with your family, and we'll start at the beginning of August. Does that work for you? Oh yeah,
That's
sure, that's fine.
that's good. So that brings up, because guys, it's always about the money or about trust, right? So the way what you're hearing, Chris, this is how he sounds when he makes his presentation. Like just having a conversation, we're just talking. He doesn't sound any different. And I think that reaches most people. Like they realize, hey, he's just a normal person and he's doing his job. And that's how he comes off, as someone who actually cares about what he does also. So that's important. So he's smart enough to where he knows it's always like you just said. It's always about the money for you. But keep that in mind, guys. For a lot of us, it's not that way. It's about you need to build that trust first, especially if you're new and you're just getting used to this. So, okay, now, do you do the one price close, or do you tell them to write down 3 option? Which close do you use?
Well, when I was at the other place, we would always do the 3, and it did work out better. But with the FEX quoter, you can't get 3 quotes. So I typically do 1, and then I'll start to drop down if I need to. But I always feel like the 3 close, hey, grab your pen and piece of paper. My name is Chris. I want you to write down 10,000, 15,000, and 20,000. All right. Next to the 20,000, put this, this, and this. And then it was, of the 3 plans, the 10,000, the 15,000, or the 20,000, which one would you like your daughter to receive? And that always really worked. And I wish I could do it a little bit better and finding the 3 quotes, 10,
There is a
15, and
way to do it.
20.
I'm pretty sure there is a way to do it. Ask Brandon. I could be wrong because I don't use it myself. So, but yeah, I know when you're leading with, when you're leading with one carrier, which is what you were used to before. You had one carrier, and I know how it is when you're writing American Amicable and you have that quoting software. Yeah, you can actually get 3 quotes to pop up just like that. So
Right.
with insurance toolkits, yeah, it's completely different. So you've figured
When,
out a
when
way
you're
to
dealing when
happy
you're
in
dealing
between.
with more than one carrier, it's really hard to figure out, because some people, they don't want the concierge service, so now it's one of those things. Okay, well, who doesn't have it? Now we're to this company versus that company, and so I just at this time I'm just doing the one. And I explained to him, your standard traditional burial today is between $8,000 and $12,000. Right now, you're 57 years old, so I would look at doing 20,000 or more, because down the road it's going to cost so much more. So you want to make sure you have that extra coverage. So, or I'll start in the middle and then work my way down to find something. If they take that first one, or if I need to drop down to find something more affordable, I can.
Got it. Okay. So I know I only got a couple questions. I know you got appointments coming up. When you give the client the price, what are you saying to prepare them just in case the carrier comes back and offers something else or flat out declines them?
I usually don't do that at the time um of the quoting. I will do that after we've applied, because if I use a company that isn't guaranteed, then I won't know for 2 days. So I don't want to tell them. But what I will say is, if something does come up, it usually takes a day or two for this to get completely qualified. Once I hear back from them, I'll be giving you a call, let you know the good news. For any reason, if they find something that is on your record that they don't like, what we'll do is we'll take a look at if there's a different carrier that may do just a good a job for that coverage. See if we can get you approved somewhere else. Because my job is just to make sure you have some coverage, which may have to try more than one company. So I
Okay.
try not to have to do that, but it has
Gotcha.
happened. Like, I got declined from Monday for CVS, so which
Right.
is a
Okay.
problem.
So you mentioned the funeral concierge plan. Are you using the Sequoia funeral concierge plan like earlier in the presentation to kind of like as a guide to decide which way you're going to go with the client? Are you doing that at all?
Well, first I start out with what I can get them approved for. So if they're going to be a smoking with COPD, then I'll end up with this company. But if they just have COPD as a non-smoker, then I try to focus on the SBLI, because they get first day coverage. And I try to push that as a selling point for first day coverage for COPD. Um, I like the concierge service because it offers something no other company does. So, hey, I thought this was free. Yes, you have free concierge services that'll help your family through the entire process of the funeral. They'll be there for emotional support, and they'll try to save your family 20 to 40% on those services, which will leave more money in their pocket, after you pass, instead of giving it to the funeral home. So there are benefits, but I kind of read the person to see what's more important. You can tell. Are you currently working? No, I'm 45 and on disability. That's a struggle. So
Gotcha. Okay. So, um, I just lost my camera. Are you still there?
yeah, I'm here. Mhm.
Okay. Want to make sure I didn't get hung up on the call is that. All right. Excellent, excellent stuff. So you're not using the funeral concierge plan. You don't even talk about that until you know you're going to sell the client SBLI, which makes sense. Or even, I guess, what is it? GTL uses them also. So
Right.
let's talk about advice. What advice would you give to a new agent who is preparing to come on our platform and getting ready to make their first presentations?
Just getting to know the script, because that's your guide. And I've been doing this for a while, and I still have the script on the screen, because what I'll do is I don't read it verbatim, but I know in the script where I'm at, and then I'll get off topic with the conversation, and I try to only make that last a minute or two, and then come back to where I was on the script, and just continue down the script as as I go through the phone call. Just get to know that very well. Try not to go off topic so much that you're now half an hour talking about dogs. That's not going to help you sell any insurance. It creates a little bit of rapport, but now they like you as a friend. They'll invite you over, but they're not buying an insurance from you. So I'm very to the point. um, you want something, I'm here to help you figure out what their goal is and help them achieve that goal, which is typically, keep that burden from falling on their family.
Gotcha. Okay. How about this? What advice would you give to an agent who is getting ready to get on the platform in reference to how they're going to explain the signature process to the client? In other words, preparing for that signature process. What advice would you give for that?
Go through the application yourself, um, and jot down the steps that they need to follow. And I actually have that pinned up on my cork board for one of the companies. Um, this is what you're going to see. This is the exact wording you're looking for. Click this, and just try to go through the process yourself. Jot down what you're looking for, what you need, and then you can just read those instructions to the client. I mean, you're only focusing on maybe three or four companies at the beginning, so just go through an application. You can always, withdraw it once it's done.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay. So this is my last question. I know we got a couple of questions from the agents. As far as preparing to overcome objections, what advice would you give to a new agent who maybe never even sold anything before?
Um, I really don't know.
Because it's tough, guys. This is why we give you the book. We ask you to read the 6 chapters. So we ask you to prepare, to have notes to set aside, so that honestly, that's it. Because look, I get it, Chris. Because it's like it's hard. You will never be 100% prepared for your first day on the phone. It is like impossible. Am I right? Is that a true statement or what?
That's an understatement.
Okay, exactly. Because that's really when the learning curve starts. So, all right, excellent. I've got a few
I will
questions.
say one thing. This system is the best that I've worked with, but it still takes time. And I've seen so many people and try to get into the insurance business who put their toe in and they dabble a little bit. This is, an easy business, but it takes time to get, where you need to be, and it takes a commitment, and a full in. I mean, you can't be here a little bit and come in and out. You got to be committed, full time, consistent. And once you're consistent, you'll see the fruits of it. It just takes a little bit of time.
Yep. All right. Good stuff. Thank you. All right. A couple questions. So we know you got in that 90 dials. Someone's asking about that. And you did have, just so you know, you did have I think it was right at 30 appointments yesterday. So you actually had a really nice booked up day for yesterday, because we advertised Sunday and Monday for your Wednesday. So Steve's asking exactly explain the dials. So let me just, I'll describe to you. When he made 90 dials in total, he had 30 appointments. So that's exactly what I mean. And Chris, I'm just going to ask you, when you're busy like that, do you even call any of the leads that don't set an appointment?
I really don't.
Yeah,
I
I
have
get it.
found that yeah.
Well, you got
When I'm
30
just,
appointments,
yeah, I
so
mean, so what I do is I call everybody, I double dial everybody at the beginning. Some of them pick up on first dial, some of them don't. And then I go through the day, and when I get a free moment, I try to call the appointments that I missed to try to hit them again with another double dial. Some of them have blocked my number. You can tell because it immediately goes to voicemail. So therefore, I won't double dial them again. But I try to hit them every day twice if they don't pick up.
okay, good stuff. And we got Thad he did make a suggestion with the insurance toolkits. He said if you click on the button that says compare next to the quote by the carriers, that you can get multiple options. So
Okay, I'll definitely look into that.
take a look at that. So I mean, what you're doing is working. So maybe you don't want to do it, but that's good that the option is there. So I thought so. Guys, does anybody have any questions? You can raise your hand or even just come off mute. Anybody have any questions for Chris at all? I know we covered a lot of stuff. I think I asked some pretty good stuff. I got to give myself a pat on the back there. Let's see here. Nope. I think we're good, Chris. I know you got an appointment here in 9 minutes. So thank you very much once again, Chris, for coming on and sharing all this. Guys, and if anybody needs anything, reach out to me. We got a couple days left in the week. Anything at all, fire away. Let me ask you, Chris, any last comments or anything you'd like to end with?
Not really. I'm not one for being on the stage, but yeah, just stay consistent. That'll get you through this business in a heartbeat.
Good stuff. Thanks, Chris. Hey guys, thanks everybody for joining us. Have an awesome week. Let me know if you need anything. Happy hunting.